All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our summer learning series for New Hampshire. Today, we are going to do a deep dive with khanmigo teacher tools. And you know what? I just realized I hope I shared my sound, but we'll see when we play this video. But first, I'd love to know, how are you feeling on a scale of my dog, Luna? This is a mood meter with my dog. So just go ahead and type a number in the chat. How you feeling this morning? I think I'm a little bit of a 3. I was a little bit of a grumpy unicorn this morning. We have some 3s, so Jacqueline, you feel me. We have some 7s, 6s, great, a 9. Oh, I know. Oh, yeah, I'm probably a 3 and a 9 a little bit, but now I'm getting towards a 5 because I get to work with educators, so I'm moving up the scale. Um, Great. Well, I would love, since we're going to be spending the next, 50 minutes together, um, I'm going to just introduce myself a little bit differently today. And then, Barbara, I'm going to ask you to maybe introduce yourself this way too. And then I'll have, if anyone wants to come off of mute or if you want to type in the chat. But this is an activity called 3 Good Things. So hi, everyone. My name is Danielle Sullivan. I am the Northeast Sales Manager for Khan Academy districts. And I'm really excited to be hosting this summer learning series, and 3 good things that are happening this in my life. Number one, really excited that I got to meet Sal Khan live in person. We had our on-site in April. I also visited Thailand this year and got to give an elephant a bath, which was really cool. And then the third good thing in my life is my nieces and nephews. And that's why I actually spend half the year in upstate New York, living really close to them, literally 300 feet. I live on their land in an RV. So that's 3 good things about me. Barbara, I'd love for you just to say hello and introduce yourself and maybe share a couple good things about you. And while Barbara's sharing, y'all can start typing some good things in the chat too. Go ahead, Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Campbell, and I will be your district success manager. So I'm the one that will help you get implemented and then work with you throughout the year to figure out best practices and things like that, that we can make sure that Khan Academy really works for you and your district. I was a 4th grade teacher, a 6th grade teacher, director of professional learning, and all of their duties as assigned at a district. I became program manager for ESL and gifted and talented simply because I had the username and the password to the state reports that needed to be done. So I'm sure a lot of you are thinking the same thing. 3 things about me. I used to work at NWEA for 10 years before coming to Khan Academy. So for any districts that are learning paths districts, I do have a fairly decent background on that. I met Sal Khan when I was working for NWEA, and we started the MAP Accelerator project. So I've known Sal longer than you, Danielle. I'm getting ready to go on a river cruise in September to celebrate a very special birthday. And I have 4 granddaughters that I dearly love, and being a Gigi is the best thing in the whole wide world. So.
Oh, thank you, Barbara. So we are 2/3 of your New Hampshire support team. We have a third. Crystal Hercules is going to be the professional learning specialist that's working in New Hampshire. So we'd love to have you keep adding some good things in the chat. And today, what we're going to dig into is, first, we're going to talk about why educators matter the most and what Khan Academy AI tools can do to help save them time. Then I'm just going to go in and do a live demo, deep dive into the teacher tools, and then we will talk more about our partnership. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to type in the chat. Barbara's monitoring the chat. If you have questions, I'll pause, make sure that we are answering your questions, or if you want to come off mute, that is great. We want to make sure that you are getting the most out of this session. So just a reminder, who are we at Khan Academy, right? Khan Academy, we are built a little bit different than other companies that are using AI, that we, as you start to partner with us, right now this summer, we're just getting districts enrolled. But then as we move towards the school year and during the school year, like Barbara said, we really want to make sure that we are learning about you and your district, because the goal at Khan Academy for us is to ensure your students reach grade level success. And the method is through mastery learning. So the AI tools of khanmigo for teacher and students are enhancing what you can do with our Khan Academy content. And like Barbara said, we have this whole partnership with New Hampshire. So we have the district support. Today is khanmigo for teachers. Last week was khanmigo for students. I'll make sure I send out both recordings this week. Then next week, we're actually digging into the SAT course. And then we will have a session on learning paths. You need to be a MAP growth district in order to do that. So not everyone needs to come to that session. We're going to continue learning and talk more about even leadership tools and our new writing coach. But we are supporting you. And like I said, Barbara and I are 2/3 of your team. This is Crystal. She's the PL lead for New Hampshire. Now, I just like to always start with our company, Khan Academy, is really focused on making sure that we're using these tools in a safe, responsible manner. Privacy, security, compliance is very important. And we took 3 months to negotiate a data privacy agreement with New Hampshire. And it's really important for us to support that. Now, last week, we talked about learning. We talked about how students learn when they're engaged, when they're working with material that just at the edge of what they can do, when they get immediate feedback and see value in what they're learning. That's why our AI works perfectly with our Khan Academy courses. And to learn more about that, you can watch the video from last week of how it works within the courses and also the other AI tools. And we have a goal as you start to work with us. Best practices show if students can be on Khan Academy for 30+ minutes a week and they can level up on a couple of skills a week, they are going to see growth. That's why khanmigo helps. So that's what we talked about last week, just refreshing our memory. But today we are going to dig into the teacher tools. So how many of you have educators that feel like this? Does this resonate with anybody? A lot of teachers are overwhelmed, stressed out. That's the funny piece, but this is the not so funny research. Well-being of teachers and working adults. I'm sure even you as leaders are feeling overwhelmed. This report just came out in June. There's still really a lot of educators reporting stress and not as great as they could be with well-being. And pandemic learning loss or unfinished learning is still a top stressor of educators. And actually, I just read a Washington Post article this morning based on data from 3 major assessment companies, including Curriculum Associates, NWEA, and Renaissance Learning, saying that kids aren't catching up as quick as we thought they were. So how can all of these tools help? Right? Because the goal is your educators are still in charge of making sure that students are learning in their care. Is that a yes? Yes, right? So I want to have you learn and listen. Let me just make sure I'm sharing my sound for a second. But I want to watch a video, what teachers are saying about these tools, and then we're going to go live and actually show you what these tools can do. So let's first make sure this works. Hopefully you can hear this sound. Can you hear this? Can you hear the sound? You can? No? Okay. Stay tuned. Hang on one second. Let me stop sharing. Share sound. Here we go. Let's try it now. Can you hear it now?
I'm khanmigo. Let's meet some great teachers, just like you.
I teach chemistry,
IELD students, the English language learners.
6th grade math, computer science. I teach high school math.
I'm a student teacher.
Please tell us more.
I have to lead 3 different types of classes and I have to come up with how I'm going to teach the curriculum. And that's a really daunting process. But having khanmigo, it's a really helpful assistant to kind of put all those pieces together. We're doing gas dynamics and we're teaching it through the lens of climate change. How can I make that real for my students? And so I might ask khanmigo, give me a hook for starting our unit on the chemistry of climate change. And it'll give me 4 or 5 options.
I like that I can ask khanmigo a question or say, hey, I need like an easy, a medium, and a hard. So it can help me develop my lesson plan into 3 different categories where instead of going to multiple websites or looking for different resources, I can do it all in one location.
It really helps with differentiating the instruction for all the kids.
Yeah, it saves me a lot of time. Not having to do the groupings, it does it for me. khanmigo kind of takes care of the initial blank white page, gives me that starting point.
From start to finish, just faster.
Could save 20, 30 minutes a day, times 5. So I was kind of blown away by that.
If I wasn't going to use khanmigo, then I'd have to search for all these different activities or these exit tickets or questions to ask, and that would take hours of my time each week.
My pleasure. But it's not about me.
It wasn't that khanmigo was replacing human interaction, it was augmenting it. It's not really about the AI, it's that the AI is going to enable more human to human interactions.
You're able to go to those students that need the most amount of help and let the ones that are able to move on their own just excel.
That's right. It's about you and your students. So come on, let's get started.
All right, so let's get started, and I'm going to go live and show you some of these amazing teacher tools. This is a part where I would love, if you are interested in asking, participating in some of this, but I'm just going to go through and show you all the different ways that we are hoping to save teachers' times. And if you are interested, again, I'll give you my email at the end. We are happy to provide demo access or a trial account for any of you as we're going through the signing up process, because you won't have access to your actual accounts until we go through the steps, which I'll recover again towards the end of the webinar. But we're happy to provide trial accounts for you. Just email me. And actually, Barbara, do you mind putting my email in the chat while I start to demo? So this is a Khan Academy account. So when you log in, you are going to have access for the learner pages, teacher dashboard, administrator dashboard, but we are going to go to the khanmigo teacher tools. So the way the teacher tools are organized, we have them by topics like planning, creating, differentiating, support, and learning. Now, we did offer our teacher tools free. This happened a couple weeks ago through a partnership with Microsoft. And a lot of educators were like, wait, what's part of this partnership? So there are, most of these tools are also free for any teacher. We actually just released it even globally. But what's part of the partnership with New Hampshire is you get access to ChatGPT-4. That is not part of the free version. So that is eligible for all New Hampshire educators will have access to this. You are also have access to the ability to summarize student chat history. That is not part of the free teacher tools. So I will demo what those look like as well. And then the other piece that's not part of it is using the teacher tools in Khan Academy content. And I'll show you how all of that works too. But I'm going to tell you the top 5 teacher tools that educators are most excited about. Number 1, a lesson plan. So you can have, your educators can create lesson plans, and I'll show you how quickly this is. So maybe I'm planning to teach photosynthesis. And you don't have to worry about spelling. Now, if I start to type this, it's going to pull some Khan Academy content, or if I want to provide my own content. So photo, S-I-N-T-H. Now I can cut and paste some standards. I can do my science standards in here if you're doing any state specific standards, learning objective, and then any other notes. So I'm going to say photosynthesis, but I want this to be really engaging, and I want a lesson that also has to deal with Taylor Swift, because my kids are obsessed with Taylor Swift. So we're going to start creating a lesson plan. Now, I should have included a standard, but I didn't have a standard about photosynthesis ready right this second. But as you can see in minutes, what this is doing is creating lesson plans, learning objectives, learning activities, what you're doing with direct instruction, what you're doing with independent work, guided practice. We'll keep going. Independent practice. And it's going to give you an exit ticket. Now you can print this, you can export this. It's going to give educators a differentiation guide and also materials to teach or specific vocabulary callouts, notable definitions. I mean, reactions, watching this create a lesson plan on the spot. How much time do you think this would save teachers? Right, and I can export it to Word. I can save it to my Google Drive. I can export it as a PDF. I can print it. But maybe I'm like, okay, this is cool, but I would love a different warm up. Like I want it to be more engaging. So what I'm going to do is see right over here, this is purple. See this purple pop up? I can click on this and then I can ask Khanmigo to try something different. I can ask Khanmigo something else. I can make this more interactive. So you can actually use Khanmigo to adjust the lesson plan. Does it create unit plans? That's a great question. It does not create unit plans yet. I don't think so, right? Learning objectives, recommended assignments. No, we don't do a whole unit plan yet, but you could create, I mean, what was that? How long did that take me? 2 minutes? So in 2 minutes, I created a lesson plan. You could have multiple lesson plans that build out a unit. We also do have, I just remind you, you can use any of our courses, which are all aligned. We have many math and science courses. We keep adding more and more courses. So if you wanted more of a unit content, that's where you can lean into the Khan Academy content based on different standards. But if you want, a particular lesson plan about, a standard that's not covered or a topic that isn't in there, like maybe you have a science of reading particular point of view, that's where the lesson plan comes in. So that's exciting. Exit ticket creator. This is super easy. So if I am teaching, let's say you can select a grade level. I'm a 7th grade teacher and I, angles and circles. I want to exit ticket dealing with that. You can be as specific, creative. You can ask to also include different student interests. And it's as quick as that. So 1 to 2 minutes, but maybe I want to say, actually, I forgot to say, can we make changes? Can we actually talk about basketball? So now it's adjusting the exit ticket to include something about basketball. So that's simple as that. Another popular one is lesson hooks. A lot of time educators want students to be engaged immediately, so I can select a grade level, lesson topic. So let's actually talk about, does anyone have a topic they want to cover? That's a great question, Lily. Let me see.
Solving equations.
Oh, go ahead. What
Solving
topic?
equations.
Solving equations.
Yep.
And the lesson context. So it's solving. Let's actually talk about adult learners. Solving equations. Adult learners are the audience. And spelling doesn't even matter. So now I'm going to have some lesson hooks focusing on adult learners. So start with a real world problem. If we are splitting a dinner bill and need to figure out how much each person owes after considering a discount and tax, how would you solve it? That's pretty adult. How many of you need to go and split a check? How many of you are confused about that sometimes? Yes. Or who has a friend that you always hand the check to because they're the one who can definitely cut the check up. Then it's organizing quick activity, introduce a short story problem. So you can customize this to a lot of different learners too. And did you see how fast I did that? Super fast. That's what's cool about these tools. Discussion prompts, learning objectives, recommended assignments, and then class snapshot. So I want to talk about class snapshot next because I'm going to show you how this works within Khan Academy content and then how to use khanmigo to customize it. We can customize it for different audiences. So you can just keep throwing different audiences in the chat. Happy to show you what it looks like. So class snapshot's really cool because how many of you talk about data-informed instruction? Hopefully everybody, because you want to make sure you're using what students are doing to continue to adjust and adapt to their learning. Now, this can be very overwhelming, but with Khan Academy, if students are taking Algebra 1 or taking any of the courses, here's how this helps. So if I'm using a lot of Khan Academy for Algebra 1, I'm assigning the videos and the activities to students. They're using khanmigo, the student-facing tutor, to support them with this. When I do a class snapshot, in minutes, y'all, minutes, it's going to tell me how long students have been on, what assignments they've been completing, what exercises, how they're doing. I can even link to the assignment report. I can see a skills report. And this is a demo account, so it's pulling all sorts of things that everyone has assigned in this demo account. But here's where the magic happens. So if you are interested in potentially doing a small group work, or maybe you want to do centers, or maybe you want your educators and thinking, how do I group my students for station rotations? So you can either, what students should be celebrated, who needs a check-in, give me a list of students that might be above their mastery goal, or group my students. Now, this data refreshes every 7 days. So on Sunday night, Monday morning, maybe I'm thinking like, or even what should I assign my class? So it's going to group my students. Not only is it going to tell me who's in the group, it's going to tell me what exercises they need to focus on. So here's where the magic is, but pay attention to this. So if I know these two students, McLean and Douglas, they need to work on slope. So I'm going to go in here, and this is the activity they need to work on. But you know what? Those two students really are a little squirrely and have trouble focusing. Who has students like that? Who knows some students that are a little squirrely and have trouble focusing? Even high school students, even adult students. So what do? I can say, please. I mean, I sometimes say, please, you don't have to. Give me hands-on activities using manipulatives for this, focusing on hunting and fishing. So this is part of the partnership. This is not part of the free version, because what I'm doing now is I looked at the data. I knew my students, these two students need to focus on this skill. So now I'm using khanmigo to give me hands-on activities using manipulatives, focusing on fishing and hunting to give to these two students. It's in the moment differentiation, like I've never seen it before. And then I can even say, give me student-facing tracking with this. And like we did before, you can print this, you can export this. So now we're pushing back to actually have the students create an activity log. They can create a journal. They can do a progress chart. So it's taking it and making it even more interactive. Questions about that? So that's class snapshot. But then going in, this is called companion mode. So you can go back in and use khanmigo to create more resources for students. Questions about any of that? That's one of my favorite things. So now let's talk about some of these creativity tools. How many of your educators might have a class newsletter? You can absolutely use this. You can name your class like Miss Sullivan's class. What did we do last week? We could talk about, I'm going to have to, in the future, I'll have things that I can just cut and paste. Unless anyone wants to say, what did we do last week in class? Anyone want to? My brain isn't working this morning. Maybe we talked about fractions, and you'd come off mute. Give me some ideas. What did we do last week?
Fractions, adding, subtracting, and multiplying,
Great.
and completed 3 worksheets.
Applying and completed. Thank you. 3 worksheets. And what are we doing next week? We are going to divide, divide fractions. And other guidelines include a Spanish translation. So if you actually have more to say, now I just created a really cool newsletter that also has Spanish translation to send home to families. And I can edit this. I can add as many things as I want. I can export it. I can print it. So I didn't add a lot of details, but that's something that it would take. I remember when I tried to do a class newsletter, it would take me forever to do that. Let's see. The other thing, you can create clear directions, letters of recommendation, informational text on a variety of topic. Another popular tool are this questions generator. So if I'm thinking of even college level kids or maybe 12th grade students, I want 10 questions. And I would love 10 questions on Romeo and Juliet and make it fun. That's so now in minutes, it's going to give me some questions about Romeo and Juliet. I could even have this layered with another pop culture thing. I could have it layered with some interesting fashion. I could, if I know students are obsessed with the Kardashians or something. I'm just thinking of like current events. I don't even watch TV, y'all. So I probably but you can quickly have questions on any topic for any population. And then it gives you the answer key too. So this is a really popular feature. Another really fun thing is, so rubric generator, report card comments, multiple choice assessments, like so you can have, doesn't matter what you're teaching, you can use these tools to save you time. Fun summary poems. So this is really fun if I'm thinking, a lot of times in math and science, like you don't think about writing poems about math. So since we're on the topic of fractions, so let's talk about dividing fractions. See, spelling doesn't matter. And then a guiding word or theme. Trolls. Olympics. Thank you. That's so much better than the troll movie. Thank you, Barbara. You saw me floundering here. All right, let's write a poem about dividing fractions. So, talking about the Olympics. I mean, it's fun. You can put in, I was working with educators that they put in the standard or they put in the objective that they were learning that day, and then it wrote a poem. Sometimes educators have used this to kick a class off that just is a little bit different and creative. But you can do this even in the context of the Khan Academy content. So say I go in here and I'm teaching middle school biology and we're doing ecosystems. This is where I can also say with my teacher tools, create a fun activity, write a poem about this topic. So you can also, in Khan Academy content, now having him, khanmigo, write a poem about ecosystems and biodiversity. It's just really fun. And students can do the same thing using the student-facing khanmigo. So it's just a little bit extra creativity. So if I change the English, will it automatically translate to Spanish? I think you need to tell it to translate it to Spanish. In the khanmigo, this you can say now give me these activities in Spanish. Khanmigo itself can speak Spanish and Portugal, and you can actually talk to Khanmigo. Like we shared this last time, you can do speech to text, and then it also can read out loud. So it can read and talk in Spanish. So that's how it would translate, but you could have, you could probably use the Khanmigo tools to translate something from text into Spanish too. Let's talk about the differentiation. This is really interesting. You can help students chunk text. So I could even add the text, you can cut and paste it in there and select how you want to chunk the text for fluency. This one's another, a lot of educators like this. It's going to adjust the complexity of a text. Now we want to make sure that students still have access to grade level text, but if there's something like, let's talk about Romeo and Juliet. if I were to cut and paste the original text, but I want it to be more on a 4th grade level, so I'd have to cut and paste the text, then it's going to adjust even Shakespeare to a 4th grade level. So you could cut and paste any text that you're reading, science text, social studies text, ELA text, that's called the text leveler. Making it relevant. This is another really great thing because we talked about when students see the relevance in their lives. So if we're talking about fractions, adding and subtracting, and my students are obsessed with the Olympics and gymnastics. And I did not spell that right at all. So I'm just showing you, you can type whatever, you could actually talk about it. Like, it's really great. It actually, in Khanmigo reads shorthand text too. Like if students are typing an IDK, it'll pick up on that. So now it's going to give me some ideas of making something a little bit more relevant with fractions using the Olympics. So this is another idea generation tool. And let's see, text rewriter too. It's going to customize and help you rewrite text. Then there's support. There's an IEP assistant, which is really interesting. And some schools don't want you to use the IEP assistant, some states, but let me just show you how this works real quick. So if I used to be a 5th and 6th grade special education teacher. So if I'm in a 5th grade reading class, it's a student with autism. And you don't have to put students' information in here either. Like I'm going to show you student with autism, struggles with focus and socialization and decoding, and then loves trucks and trains. It's kind of a student actually supported. It's going to give you an overview of what you could, some of the language you could use in an IEP. You could clearly be way more detailed oriented. And like I said, you don't have to put student information into this because you can just use this to cut and paste into their IEP with their student information, just giving you ideas. But I want to show you the next step, something that I often struggled with as a special education teacher. If this is using visual schedules and clear instructions, if that's one of the goals I choose to have the student have, you can actually, once it's done typing, so, the SMART goals, right? I struggled with tracking these goals. Do any of your special education teachers struggle with tracking IEP goals sometimes, right? So you can go back in, let me actually have them stop typing. I'm gonna go here, and then I'm going to use Khanmigo again. Khanmigo should pop right up. Where's Khanmigo? Okay, I'm going to use Khanmigo. Can you give me student-facing worksheet to track this goal? So now I'm back in asking Khanmigo to clarify and give me something specific to track this particular goal, which is, again, something I'm doing in minutes. Even like how this would look, how they would track it monthly. I'm again, this would have saved me so much time as a former special education teacher. So that's one idea with the IEP. Then I'm going to show you, this is another piece that is just for the partnership. This is not part of the free tools, is using AI, using Khanmigo to summarize what students are talking to Khanmigo about. So for instance, let's talk about my 6th grade class. So I'd love to know, and this is a demo account. So I want them to today and tell me any trends that I should know. So when students are typing into Khanmigo, we save the chats. We don't save the chats to train anything. We save it for you to be able to use as data. Now this is a demo account, so it's not going to be able to show you as much. I'm not gonna be able to have a lot of data in here, but so they're able to provide topics that were discussed, a list of students' conversations that were flagged. Maybe there's specific questions you want to ask about the chat history. So even now, what Khanmigo does is if I'm not being clear, it's going to push back and just ask for clarity. So it's even like sometimes it's hard to like remember what to do with an AI. All right, let me stop to see. Do we answer any questions, Barbara? How are we doing in the chat? right. Doesn't mean that I would only have to pay for third and fourth.
I'll let you get with Connie. Connie's district is a private school that currently uses Map Growth and Map Accelerator.
Connie, yeah, send me an email. We'll talk. We'll talk about the those particular things. So with the New Hampshire partnership, the state of New Hampshire, the partnership is for 5th through 12th grade students. And because this is new for us, and we are still a small company onboarding many school districts in New Hampshire, we're sticking to providing khanmigo for 5th through 12th grade. These teacher tools, all of your educators can have access to this for all programs in New Hampshire. These are, you can actually, every educator can even sign up for the free. Like I said, what's not included with the free is ChatGPT-4 and summarizing student history, but every other one of these tools is available for all of the educators. And as I'm showing you, you can really use this in so many different ways. And part of that, we're still working out the details. So, when you are signing up with us, you can enroll all of the educators in your building to be able to have access to all these tools. And then, great, Connie, you're going to email me. How do we log into a teacher account for New Hampshire teachers? I'm going to pause, Megan. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I just want to show you the last piece of the teacher tools. Refresh my knowledge and ChatGPT-4. So refresh my knowledge. Here's what's really helpful about this. This is another top 5 teacher tool. How many of you have educators that might have changed grade levels or might be new, or you have a lot of subs that might be working, or educators that might be multi-grade? So something like this is really good to say, I'm about to, or maybe you just need to be like, if I went to back in the classroom and started teaching fractions again, I would need a refresher about how to divide fractions. So I can say, dividing fractions. So what this does is khanmigo is going to work with me. See, I didn't even type it right. Diving fractions. So dividing fraction be fun. Before we proceed, can you clarify what grade level? 6th grade. I'm teaching 6th grade. And then it's going to help me now. It will start coaching me with different topics that I can learn about dividing fractions in particular. So I can choose from one of the menu items, or I can ask it something else. But this is really, a lot of educators are finding this useful to help just quickly refresh their knowledge before they begin teaching something. The last thing I want to show you is you have access to ChatGPT-4, which you can absolutely, I don't even know. I mean, how many of you have used ChatGPT? Yeah. So there's a lot of things. I mean, this is just, you have access to help you with emails or any type of thing that you would use in ChatGPT-4. You now have access as part of this partnership. So questions, comments, and what activity were you most excited about? If you want to come off mute or type in the chat, and then Megan and I will answer your question. What are you most excited about? What do you think your educators would be most excited about? Whatever you say is correct. We just love to hear from you.
Like looking at the class at a snapshot. That's really cool for teachers who are really heavily using khanmigo as a support in their classroom, to be able to detail that out and see exactly who needs what. That's kind of cool.
Oh, I know. Thank you. I feel the exact same way. Like, that's my favorite. That's my personal favorite, is the class snapshot. I would have used that every single day, even though the data refreshes 7 days. Anyone else? Something you're super excited about?
The hours it's going to save in terms of instructional planning. I mean, that was always my thing. It would take me hours every week to plan. The first time, especially, I taught a class. It was a huge job to get my framework built. This is a little mind-boggling.
I know. I know it's going to take a little bit of time you have to wrap your head around it, but yes, saving time. When I first started seeing some of these tools, and I was actually talking to my cousin yesterday, who is, she's a reading coach in Pennsylvania. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to like just even in a conversation telling her about it. She's like, please send me the link. I can't wait to sign up. New Frontier for Teaching. Yeah, to stay in front of your students, to make sure that it's, again, how do students learn? Making it relevant, making it just at the edge of struggle. So even using some of these tools to push students, to support students, to really differentiate in the moment. And that's what good teachers do, but you can use a little bit of help, right? Great.
Well, you
So
know,
yeah. Oh, go ahead, Barbara.
Danielle, my son-in-law is a college professor, and I was showing him this tool, and he was amazed because he's a teacher at heart. He was in the Peace Corps, taught English to kids in Nicaragua. So he gets the whole thing about planning a lesson and things like that. And he goes, the majority of professors at a college level have never had anything to do with actually teaching.
Right.
You know, they understand their content, but as far as how to deliver it to students, he's like, this would be a game changer, you know. And even like the day that we were talking, he had some kind of, was teaching a lesson on immigration and different things like that, but he just went into that question generator and, you know, generated like 10 questions that he was going to use as debate topics for his class. But, you know, the same thing, you sometimes in the high school level, especially, you get people who are transitioning into teaching. And while they really have a great grasp of the content that they're teaching, the whole delivering it to students is a different thing. And so I think this would be golden for somebody who has the knowledge of the content, but just needs that help on how to best give it to the students.
Absolutely. And that is a good point, Barbara, because we are starting to even begin partnerships with some universities, but I know a lot of you teach adult learners. You can make it relevant for all different students. And then Lily wrote in the chat, ESL students too, like really using these tools to support all different types. Great question generating discussion prompts. Awesome. Okay, so now let's answer the what's next. So let's go back to this. Where'd I go? All right. And just let me actually, I'm going to skip through all of this. I was just going to say a lot of teachers are really excited about this. So what is next? How do you get access to the recording? How do we you know, tell your teachers to log in? So here's the process of what happens next. What we're going to do is, let's see. Okay. So here's the steps. Part of this is just educating you on what's what. We have this landing page that we will put in the chat again. Where is it? Okay. Do you mind putting the blog post, Barbara, in the chat? So the steps are, you want your district to sign up. So you're going to fill out the form going from this page. Once you sign up, it's taking us a little bit of time because we have a pretty good process at this point, but you're going to get a contract. Then once you sign the contract and send it back to us, Barbara will send you a link to a survey. You need to fill the survey out. Then she will contact you for a kickoff call. At that point, you want to talk about the kickoff call? Actually, Barbara, since it's better for you to share the steps.
Certainly. While you do that, can you find the blog?
I'll find the blog. You talk about the
Okay.
kickoff call. Yep. And I'll find the blog.
With the kickoff call, a couple things that are really important is, you know, you have to have Clever or ClassLink to roster your students into this. And if you are using Map Accelerator or Learning Paths, you would have to have Clever, because that's the only operator or the only rostering system that works with that product. And so, you know, really in the kickoff call, we simply talk about your rostering process, the who, what, where of students that you want, teachers that you want, because it's really important. I think the rostering sometimes is something that might be overlooked a little bit, but that's going to what makes it dependent on what type of reports your teachers are able to see. So it's really, you know, important to get the rostering so that the teachers who actually touch the kids have the reports that they need. And then we talk a little bit, we just go over a little bit in detail about the content. And then we talk about your goals and what are your goals for the year and how can I support you with meeting those goals.
So
pretty much
Yeah,
kickoff.
and then once we, because we really are pushing people to try to sign up by the end of this month, which is very fast. It's like next week. We will obviously continue to sign school districts up through August, but Barbara's doing an amazing job with these rolling kind of kickoff calls. Once you are in the system, like she said, that's when your teachers will have their own login. But again, if you want trial access between now and then, I put my email in the chat. Make sure that you just send me an email. Just say, can you please send me a demo or a trial account? I'm happy to send you a trial account. I will send out the recordings. I will email you the recordings from last week and this week by the end of this week. So you'll have the recordings from the last 2 weeks. We are still hosting the summer learning series. So you can still have from this same page, more educators can sign up. Once you sign up for the series, we will send you the recording, even if you can't join live. So you can still drive your teachers to sign up and still get access to this. We're doing this all summer long through the 3rd week of August. Next week, we're doing a deep dive into SAT, what that looks like, what the partnership with College Board looks like. I actually invited my friend, a coworker who used to work for College Board. So she's going to really dig into what the SAT course is, how to help your students prepare for that. Any questions, you can email me. I'm happy to meet with you. If there's different, like Connie, there's different when you have different more complex questions, it's easier just to get on a call to talk about it. But we're really excited for this partnership. Hopefully you're excited to share this with your educators, and your educators actually, if they wanted to, they can create a free account with the teacher tools, but you would just have to make sure that it's a little complicated because if they're saving stuff over the summer, then we'd have to once they sign up, I don't know, Barbara, where did we land on that for New Hampshire? Just ask me for a trial account, probably not sign up for the.
I think a trial account, and basically when teachers do things during the summertime, because there's a chance that even if they use their school email address, that when we roster and merge all those, that some work might be lost. But you saw where they could export things. So while it might not be saved in Khan Academy, the things that they've created, it can be saved in Word or PDF, and then they could go from there. But otherwise, once they have their username and password, then there's a My Documents thing that it automatically saves things to. So just like a little caveat warning that if you're doing, something that's very brilliant, and you think you're going to have access to it when you log back in, it might be best to export.
And to answer 2 other questions, Emily, the reason why we have Clever or ClassLink is that's just our automatic rostering right now. Clever is free. So a lot of New Hampshire schools that don't have either are signing up for Clever, and it's a very simple process we're finding. So again, if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to send you the how-to, but you would just go to Clever and just start to enroll your school or district, and it's free. And people aren't really finding any challenges with that.
Well, and the biggest thing with Clever is it uploads your data consistently. So it's like a sync. So you don't have to remember, oh gosh, do I need to upload my roster? Because working at NWA, I remember, rosters would change, but they were doing the rosters manually. And so that just really isn't the best for how things work in a school, because everything's fluid. So that's what Clever helps us do, is it syncs your SIS system to our account or to our product.
Exactly. And the last question that I'm going to answer, then I'll stop the recording. I'll stay on for an extra 10 minutes for anybody who has questions. Who's the best person to fill out the form? It would be whoever is authorized to sign a contract. So if it's your superintendent, your IT person, your principal, whoever can, I think it's probably easiest, whoever's authorized to sign the contract to send it back to us. That would be the perfect person to fill out the form, or you can fill out the form and then put their information in. You'll see that we're asking for, names, emails, phone numbers, because what we're doing is we're quickly getting those contracts drafted, sent to you through DocuSign. You're going to sign, send it back to us, and then that starts the process with Barbara. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.